With a population of 307 million people and 300 million firearm owners, the United States has the highest rates of gun ownership in the developed world, which is why there are strong statutes in effect that govern American citizens' gun rights. Firearm laws regulate the types of guns that can be purchased, state the qualifications needed to be met in order to purchase and own a gun, and control the storage and use of the guns. Firearms are generally classified into three types: handguns, rifles, and shotguns. Overall, 43% of males own a gun. For white males, 44% own firearms, and of black males, 27 are gun owners. When it comes to the discussion of gun control, does race between black and white males play a central role? Let's find out.
I fired it for target practice.
And could you explain the types of guns that you own?
I have a 22, a 38, and a 40 caliber handgun.
Yes, I have.
And why?
I fired a gun for several different reasons. Hunting, New Year's, 4th of July. The first time I fired a gun was playing around with my father's gun or playing around with my friend's father's gun.
Yep, I hunt. My dad taught me how to hunt when I was like 6 or 7, and I've always hunted, so I fired a gun there. In the police academy, of course, you have firearms training. In Texas, officers have to qualify once a year with their firearms, so you shoot there. We actually qualify once a year, and then we actually train with firearms once a year. So we actually go to the range twice a year. And some officers go like weekly. And do,
Yes, I have, for recreational purposes. Just like guns.
Yes. Well, I don't know if I've ever done it at a person. I don't hunt, but my parents are both police officers, and so I've shot guns at ranges hundreds of times.
Yes, I have. I fired a gun at a gun range to celebrate a birthday of mine, actually my 21st birthday, but haven't shot one since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Have you ever fired a gun at a person?
Never.
Did you fire a gun while hunting?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Why do you think so?
Well, because we're, all Americans. I've been in gun shops. I've been to many gun shows. I've seen a lot of African Americans at gun shows, at gun shops. I've never witnessed firsthand any different process between black people and white people. I've never witnessed it. And I've been in a lot of gun shops, a lot of gun shows. I've never witnessed it.
No, I do not.
And would you mind going more into that?
No, absolutely not. I think that a lot of it plays, a lot of the reasoning behind it plays the media plays a huge part in that. The majority of the time you see blacks or other types of minorities with guns, it's usually, gang violence or some type of, robbery or murder, something that's committed. And that is the reason that a lot of the policies, I believe, in my opinion, are a little bit stricter for minorities simply because of the way it's portrayed in the media.
Yes, absolutely.
And could you try and explain your...
Well, because you go into a gun store, for example, and you're looking for whatever weapon that you're trying to buy, and you fill out the required federal paperwork, and you fill out all the stuff, and there's a quick background check on you, and I think there's a 5-day waiting period to buy the weapon. And if you're clean, you haven't been arrested before or haven't been arrested for certain types of crimes, then you're good to go. So white, black, brown, yellow, green, whatever, if you've been in the pen for murder, you're not going to buy a gun because a convicted felon cannot own a firearm. So no matter what race you are, if you're a felon, you cannot own a firearm.
Absolutely. I think a large part of it has to do with the media. They paint minorities to be violence-driven maniacs, but yeah, and it makes it more difficult for us to get them. But yeah, I think so.
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Well, I think there's a huge prejudice against both races, but for different reasons. I think that African American culture gets looked at a lot for criminal problems,
Yeah.
which is not true at all. Especially these giant, this big argument that we're having because of the school shootings that have been happening, or the bombings and all that stuff. Race most of the time has nothing to do with it. And for white people, I think that there's a prejudice against, especially white men going hunting and having these ridiculous hunting rifles or whatever, and so there's problems on both ends, I think.
The gun, the 22 and 38 were given to me. To be honest, the 40 caliber I purchased when I knew that there was a provision or law being discussed in Texas where you could bring handguns to campus. And working in the Dean of Students office, first of all, I'm not for handguns being on college campuses, but I have worked with individuals and those with mental illnesses, those without mental illnesses, and I just wanted to make sure that I was prepared to have a gun if the law was passed. So I would apply for the concealed handgun. I don't think a lot of students know what they're doing with guns. I don't think that they would know how they would react, and so it would be more a safety concern that I have for those that don't know how they're going to react if an incident happened.
Okay.
No, I do not.
And why or why not? Or why not? Sorry.
Because they won't give me one. I'm one of those that was affected by it.
Oh, okay.
So I would like one, but I don't have one.
Would you mind actually going into that a little more?
At the age of 19, I was charged with accessory to robbery. I was in the car. Charges got dropped, but it's still on my record. So as a result, I can't have a firearm.
Okay, thank you for that.
I do not. I have thought about going and getting my license, so I can have one. My boyfriend has one, and my family all do. My mom has a shotgun right next to her bed, so I'm not opposed to it, but it's not just something I personally.
No, I do not. I do not. My dad owns guns. Everyone in my family owns guns except for me. And the reason I do not is because I do not fear for my safety as they did back then. Back then, my dad owned a gun because he was in a gang. My mother owned a gun because my dad was in a gang. I am not in a gang. I don't feel an obligation to if I needed to protect myself, I don't feel an obligation to have a gun. There are other methods that I could use to protect myself. An alarm system, fighting, something like that. Now, maybe someday I'll decide to go hunting, but as of right now, I don't feel the need to have a gun. So that's just my opinion.
I strongly believe in the Second Amendment, and I don't think that the Second Amendment only applies to hunting. I very, very strongly believe in protecting my family first and foremost, and myself. I think that carrying a gun, I've got a concealed carry permit, and I don't, concealed means it's hidden. I don't wear it out for intimidation or anything. It's solely for protection. And I think the society that we live in now, I think there's a lot of violence that goes on, and I think that society dictates that, it's a necessary thing. Not only do I have the right through the Second Amendment, I think it's a very necessary thing to own a gun permit.
Okay.
I'm not worried.
Why not?
Where I was raised, I'm originally from Fort Worth, south side of Fort Worth. My dad lives in South Park of Houston, so shootings happen not on a regular basis, but I've been around shootings. Yeah, they're more common, and I've been around shootings, and actually just left last week because my old college roommate shot his cousin, and I had to go down and get him out of jail in Houston.
And actually,
not too worried. San Marcos and I live in Kyle actually, so those two communities respectively have their police enforcement is pretty good, and I'm not too worried about that.
Very worried. That's a very real reality.
Would you mind kind of explaining a little more as far as to why you feel so worried?
Anyone can have a gun now, and typically the people who are shooting up, schools and businesses, they don't look like me. These are people who got, the license and bought things legally. So it's a very real reality. Plus, I work in the school a lot, and it just seems like that tends to be the number one place that people want to shoot up. So I was on the line.
I'm always worried. But it's not something that I lose sleep over. Can it happen here? Absolutely. Can a Columbine thing happen here? Absolutely. Can a Connecticut thing happen here? Absolutely. Am I worried about it? No.
And as far as that worry goes, on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being worried and 5 being not worried, where would you rate yourself?
I'm around a 2.
And then,
So one being not worried.
1 being worried.
Oh, okay, back up. I'm sorry. About a 4.
Okay.
About a 4. So I'm not really that concerned. I mean, it's always, we train for it. We're ready for it. We train for it. We're prepared to react to it in the event something like that does happen. But I don't come to work every day worried that we're going to have some type of school shooting or something like that.
Oh, I'm scared all the time. I think, though, that in the sense of like the elementary school shooting and the shooting that happened in the theater, I can't remember where it was, but those are acts that could have been prevented, but weren't because people don't take the proper precautions. Also, I am always aware of my surroundings. I know where an exit is. I know, and that's from my parents and just from our society being around and going, okay, what's going to happen? But I think that there needs to be better precautions to keep safety measures better. In schools, I don't think that teachers having guns is the answer. I do think that there needs to be metal detectors and things like that. I had one at my school, but I am worried that things would happen. But that's not just because of the society we live in. I think that's just because there are crazy people around.
My concern is that just like getting a driver's license and doing background checks on if you're capable of driving a vehicle, there's a test that you have to pass or whatever. One of the concerns, I'll say, in looking at, in addition to those individuals that may have the mental illnesses or those individuals that have been involved in violent behavior before. And so if that's part of the background check, then that doesn't mean that you still don't have the right to protect yourself. But I think that there needs to be some type of analysis where if there's information that raises red flags about your behavior, about your ability to control yourself, then that should be as part of a background check.
I think they're too strong as there is. I think they're too strict as there is. I think the Second Amendment, I think that it says that we should have the right to keep and bear arms, just like any government official, and i.e. police or military. I don't think that. I think gun laws are too strict as is.
I'm not necessarily sure I want them to be stricter, because they're pretty strict now, and it's not working. I think we need to revise what we look at and what we consider. So I would definitely say not stay the same, but the criteria needs to change.
I think they should be stricter, because with all the current news that we've had going on with, the Sandy Hook school shooting, and then the theater shooting and all that stuff, I think that there needs to be some more rigidity, I guess you could say, when it comes to, giving people guns and everything. I think there should be more tests involving, psychological tests, things like that, to make sure that people are of the right mind to possess a firearm.
They need to stay the same.
Can you go more into that?
Well, our founding fathers really had a good idea with the Second Amendment. You have the right to bear arms. And I just personally have a very strong feeling on any group, a Congress or any group trying to nullify or to water down that right we have. And the reason that worries me, that bothers me, because what's next? What's next is that if you water down the Second Amendment where you can't own certain types of firearms, for example, this gun I have on right now, the magazine in it would be a banned magazine. It's an extended magazine, which has more bullets than what they allow or would allow, you know. And you ask anybody that's been in a firefight, you ask any soldier, how many bullets did you need to resolve the firefight? And they'll say one more than the other guy had.
No, I think that it has. I think moreover it's lit a fire under the asses of America to start talking about the issue, because we don't have the there's no other way to say this. We don't have the balls to get up and deal with the polar opposite issues. Like gay marriage is one that's right now that's really getting a lot of media attention, and now gun control is getting a lot of media attention, and it causes people. Gun control, abortion, and gay marriage are always the top three things that get people all up in arms. But if we don't have, if as a 2013 American citizens, we don't have the wits to discuss things in a logical way, then we're doomed as a civilization.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to be able to have these conversations, these difficult ones, ones with lots of different opinions, in order to come to a cohesive agreement, or at least the best one that we can.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes. I work with kids, and I mean, you know, not to confuse that with anyone else, you know, with any other profession, but a lot of the shootings are involving kids, or involving kids, you know, shooting or killing other kids. And so, absolutely, I mean, working with kids, I think that it should be a lot harder for someone to obtain a gun, because it's too easy for them to obtain a gun, and then especially putting, you know, the child's life in danger. And so with the last shooting, the guy in, I can't remember where it is, I don't want to say any names, I don't want to, you know, offend anyone, but the last guy went in and shot up an elementary school. And I'm pretty sure he was still a kid himself. He maybe, you know, just hit the fine line of, you know, adolescence and adulthood. So I think that, yeah, I mean, the recent shootings, absolutely.
Not at all, and I think they should. I think the race that they should target, they don't. And I think that's the unsaid part about gun control that nobody wants to really discuss. While minorities are notorious for, you know, gang membership and shooting at each other in, you know, our street communities, I have yet to see a black person or Hispanic or any other minority go into a school and blast away kids. So, you know, while it make it harder for us to get firearms, I think they, once again, should really reevaluate who's really doing these shootings and what can we do to keep that population from accessing them so much.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think they're targeting a specific race. I think they're targeting a community, and that's the gun culture. You take the bottom line is criminals don't obey gun laws. You make, you know, law. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and you know, I mean, the Bible says follow the law of the land, and I do that, and I think that my rights are being infringed. It's making me harder to own firearms, to purchase ammunition, whereas you know, a criminal will go buy a gun off the black market or break into a house and steal a gun and steal ammunition. I think that responsible, law-abiding gun owners are the ones that are going to take the biggest hit from any new stricter gun policies.
No, I do not. They used to, but I do not. I think that we as a people are finally starting to realize that it's not any one race that's responsible. I think that we're realizing that it's people in general, not necessarily ignorant people, because some of these people are very smart, but just people that have a different agenda, not one race, but you know, just people.
think so. I mean, you can look at it that way, but I mean, the shooters that we were the 2 shooters that we were talking about were white males. So if you're talking about it in the sense of it targeting like an African American demographic or even like an Islamic, person or whatever, like that kind of race, then no, I don't think so. I think you can spin it any way you want to, but at the end of the day, the whole issue is about creating a safer society. So.
No, I don't. I don't feel like they're targeting anybody. I think that it's attempting to, well, with the making it more rigid, I feel that will make it the same for everyone. I hope so. Yes.
No, I think it's just the stupidity of Congress. I think it is a knee-jerk reaction to the school shootings. It's an absolute need, and not on a political soapbox, but it's people in Congress that have the sheep mentality. The uber left-wing side of Congress, with their push to abolish certain weapons or stuff like that, they're trying to create a society of sheep. They want us to be a bunch of sheep. So the sheep get led to slaughter, and they get led slaughtered by the wolf.
Well, I don't think there are any new laws. And I think the impetus for the discussion has been a reaction to what we were talking about, the shootings. Because if you look at inner cities, and that's part of the discussion, you look at like cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, whatever, shootings have been happening there forever. And that's why I say I'm not worried about it, because the culture and communities that I come from, it's common. It's not anything that I'm just afraid of. So I think the recent shootings, and especially when you're starting to talk about kids, then I think that's just something that started the conversation over again. So to say it's targeting a particular race, no, I don't think that's the case.